All right. All right. All right. Hey guys, it's Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses podcast, where we have conversations about cybersecurity, GRC. Today we have a special guest. I've got Will Reed, who is 20 years vet from the Army. Where I love talking to him is because his background is information system security manager, which brings a whole nother perspective that I love to get. But right now, he's transitioned into AI coach, GRC coach, and the CEO of Better Everyday Cyber. So, where he helps aspiring cybersecurity professionals get into this field and level up. So, without further ado, let me show you guys this awesome dude right here, Mr. Will Reed. Man, it's been a while since we spoke, man. It's been a year. How you been doing?
Yeah, hey, you know me, better every day, and definitely appreciate you bringing me back on. It's an honor. I know that what you're doing for the community is needed, and your consistency is definitely something to take note of. And again, I'm just enjoying the fact that you thought enough of little old me to bring me on back.
Oh man, I want to know about what you're doing these days because I've been hearing great things about your course. I've been sending people your way as much as possible, and I've gotten some great feedback from what you've been doing. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now with consulting.
Yeah, so now I am. I just recently got. I was actually working with a company doing like CMMC, project management, that type of consulting in the GRC space, and now what I found is one of my joys that I didn't even know was going to be a joy was individual one-on-one coaching. And so for those of you that have been following me for a little bit, I had an apprenticeship program, or still have the apprenticeship program, where I take anybody that wants to get into GRC, and I walk them through, do a brief introduction to IT, introduction to cybersecurity, foundations of GRC, and then we walk through some practical GRC applications, different projects that we can work on, and then I then also help them transition into trying to position themselves to apply for and acquire GRC roles, or get their foot in the door when it comes to cybersecurity. So everything from helping them update and optimize their LinkedIn profile, looking at their resume, helping them prep for interviews. And so that was in a group concept. So I would take 10 people on for the GRC apprenticeship program. And I ended up just thinking like, hey, what if I did this one-on-one? And because I met a lot of people that didn't necessarily need something foundational. It was a little bit more tailored. They're mid tier, or midlife, or they've already been in the field for a little bit, and now they're trying to upskill, or now they're trying to pivot somewhere else. And I didn't have a program that was really tailorable to them. And so what I wanted to do is create something that I could really focus more specifically on a person's individual needs and goals and aspirations from a career perspective. And this is what birthed the GRC analyst mentorship and education program. And so that's really customized to the individual, whether they're mid-career, or whether they're senior, whether they're trying to break in, but they need something a little bit more tailored. I tailor the program exactly to them, and I take them on a 1-year journey where we can go from start to finish and get them where they need to go. And so, yeah, I found a new joy there with individual one-on-one coaching, and so that's kind of my focus now.
Man, that's incredible. Like I get a lot of people asking me for mentorships, and I can't, I just don't have the time to do it with my schedule. I've got so many other plates I'm juggling. So it's awesome to have somebody like yourself with your background, because your depth of knowledge is incredible, especially the way that you hit it, and you have a very mature facing a very mature perspective on the whole market, on everything about it. And so that's why I really like your perspective, and that's why I'll continue to send people your way. And I want to know, like, how um more about like what you're expanding into. Like, are you you're about to make a great offer. Maybe I'll save that for later, but he's got a great offer for you guys who are watching right now. If you're really interested in this kind of thing, and I know some people have been contacting me, you've been looking for a coach, you've got one right here, staring you right in the face, Mr. Will Reed. And what's the best way for people to contact you if they are interested in this? I've got your email up here, but also let me show your email, your LinkedIn. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
So best way to get a hold of me, email. I'm very present on LinkedIn as well. And so you see my LinkedIn profile there. Hit me up on LinkedIn, DM me, and we can definitely connect. So but yeah, those are the two best ways to get a hold of me right now. And then we'll talk about a little bit later on what I have special for your audience, because again, I value so much what you're doing in the community right now, and I just want to make sure that I'm in a position to be able to provide some value to your audience.
I appreciate you, man. So a lot has changed in the year. It's been 1 year since we actually spoke on
Yeah.
this podcast, and so much has changed. So I guess my first question to you is, what in the market, if anything, have you seen change?
The market now is a little bit challenging when it comes to entry level GRC roles. And what I mean by that is although they may be entry level GRC roles, they're still asking and looking for experience. And it's a little bit more challenging to get in because they're looking for things like IT experience or SOC, because the real need is to understand the technology. And we can't just focus on the framework or the security regulation that we're trying to get the company or what that industry is requiring in terms of compliance. And so just regurgitating regulations or controls is no longer enough. We can get AI to do that. And so now it's understanding what the technology is, and then how do we then marry up those requirements in a way that makes sense for the business. And then we can also communicate that to the ones that are actually implementing these controls. So we're talking about the engineers and the software developers. How do we translate that to them, as opposed to just spitting out this, sometimes this antiquated or legacy terms or legacy controls that really don't reflect what technology is actually doing. And so what I'm seeing is in the GRC space is they're looking for somebody that knows the technology, that understands how to translate the compliance requirements into actual technology tasks and actions, and then also be able to facilitate and empower the business.
Absolutely. I'm seeing along those same lines, what you just said, especially ISO roles, speaking specifically for the government sector. What I'm seeing is when you get in as a GRC person, they're kind of expecting you to know more and have some sort of technical hands-on experience, because you're being pulled into meetings with technical folks. Not just that, but they'll a lot of times they'll dual hat you, meaning you're not just doing GRC like policies or standards. They'll pull you in to do a little bit of like looking at logs or something like that. It'll be some random other thing, which is why it's really important. Not to say you can't learn it on the job, but you have to know enough to be able to at least start. You have to have a good foundation. So the hands-on IT piece is what I'm seeing them wanting you to know a bit more. And that's in the last few jobs, it's been getting more and more. They're wanting more like a technical background. And that's not to say that you can't get one, right? You don't have to get upset about that if you don't have one. You can get one, but I'm telling you, like, in order to compete in the market, it just seems like that's one of the best, things you can do. Now, speaking of that, one of the questions that comes up a lot is people who are absolutely new asking, like, well, how do I get experience? Like, what can I do? Like, where do I start? I want to be in IT. Like, what do I do? Like, what do you tell people who are fresh off the streets, coming from a whole nother industry, wanting to be a GRC person?
I always recommend going the free 99 route. So what I mean by free 99 is YouTube University is something that can be your best friend. You can learn the basics about just about anything just by going to YouTube. And so when people are looking to transition and learn IT, for example, there are the podcasts or individuals like Professor Messer, for example. If you go to like his A+ course that he does, like
Right.
he does a very good job of breaking down, just basic IT, right? And we can just literally just type in IT fundamentals course, and you'll pull up, hundreds of videos that can walk you through how to learn it. And then the second thing I would recommend is there are many free tools that are out there where you can learn IT in certain environments, right? And even you can even learn certain things like try hack me, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be where it's strictly about hacking, right? You're learning actual IT in the process. And so there are different labs, free labs, like Microsoft used to do something to where you could actually, and I think they still do it. You can download a virtual box. Is not Microsoft, but you can download VirtualBox, which gives you the ability to put a virtual instance of a server on your laptop or your computer. And then you can download a trial version of Microsoft, whatever the latest server is, and then test it out for a little bit, right? And so these are some things where you can kind of test out different technologies. AWS has some good things as well, where you can go and test out their cloud platform, spin up instances, and just play around with things. And so I think the lab concept is what we have to get a little bit more towards when we talk about GRC and we talk about people that want to get into IT, is the ability and the willingness to lab things up and just test some things out and start learning by doing. We don't have to wait until we get hired to get a role. I think what really makes you shine, especially if you do get to the point where you get an interview, is like, hey, this person was able to learn technical skills without even holding a technical job. And I'm not even saying go to college for this stuff. Like, you can literally just, again, go to YouTube University, and then they'll have these free labs. That's what do. Like, hey, download these 3 free tools that you can download.
Yeah.
Like Suricata is like a sim that you can download, and then you can test that out, and you can put it on your home network, and you can have your laptop in your office, and you can have your desktop at your desk sitting there on the same network, and you can start looking at traffic, right? So there are different things that we can do to be a little bit more self-taught and show some initiative. And that way, that actually speaks a lot more highly of people that are pursuing jobs, because you were able to develop a thirst for knowledge and acquiring a skill without somebody paying you to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you're showing initiative and a hunger and enthusiasm for the technology. That goes a long way. When you walk through that door of that interview, when you're online doing that interview, you could then spout off stuff that you've done in your home lab. Like, that's something that is gonna go a long way. And there's so many free tools you can use. Stericata is one of them. If you're trying to do networking, there's GNS3.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of free stuff you can do on AWS that's specifically networking in the cloud, VPC. You've got Azure has a year-long, also has a year-long free tier. If you're doing networking, if you're doing hacking, you've got Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. You can actually download Kali Linux and start hacking your own home network and start messing around with it.
Free. Yep.
Completely free. So there's networking, a networking free piece. There's hacking. There's whatever you want to do. Like, you can actually dive in there and start doing it like right now. And then you can even put those projects on your resume. You can list that stuff down that you've done on your, now there's a way to do it, but you can list that down on your resume to say, hey, yep, I've created a home lab. The guy I talked to last week, my actual mentor, he did something similar. Like, that dude, that dude built an AI rig in his house and then got the job by showing, hey, here's how I created this AI rig. Here's showing all the notes and everything. So yeah,
Wow.
it
Yeah.
goes along. Anytime I've ever leveled up, as a matter of fact, anytime I've ever changed careers, leveled up, it always started with me doing a lab. As a matter of
Yep.
fact, it's been a pivotal part of my career path. So if you're thinking about doing IT, that's a huge one to do. Now, I notice you've dived into AI. Now, this is something I really love talking to everybody about because it's impacted all of us. And I want to know what you're doing right now with AI.
What am I not doing with AI is the better question, right? And so I think AI is coming in and it's wrecking shop, right? It's taking over, and gone are the days where we can just decide to ignore it. And so now we're kind of like on this upswing to where it's becoming a little bit more commonplace. And so what I whenever I'm doing something on my computer, I always ask myself, is like, can I do this easier, more efficiently, more quickly with AI? And so everything from, creating, like, so I've created information security policies on AI. I have created a study guide so I was studying for the CMMC certified practitioner certification. And I created a study guide and a study tool using a GPT and created that to quiz me on all of the material that I had to put in there. Right. So it's AI, it's up and open to your imagination. It just makes things easier, and then it also gives you the ability to solve problems a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
Previously, it would take me, a few hours to create a policy, an information security policy, access control policy, or something like that. If I know what I'm expecting to see out of it, I can just submit a prompt and then get the output and then review the output and then make my tweaks after that. And so it's definitely getting us from concept and thought to workable finished product
Yes.
very quickly, and not having to go through several hours of iteration. And
Yes.
so yeah, just things that I can do to try to solve problems and try to automate some
Absolutely.
things or get
Absolutely.
ideas out, create a plan. Like, just those are very,
Mhm.
very good things that help you walk through. And what I would suggest for people that are looking to break in to cybersecurity, GRC, use AI as a tool to do that. And you can use AI as a tool to teach you certain concepts. So like
Absolutely.
things like, hey, I want to learn, and this is where, like, this another one of my recommendations is learning enough about Python to understand what it's doing, and you can have AI just teach you Python. Like, literally, just put a prompt in, act as a Python instructor, and teach me as if I were a 12-year-old all of the basic concepts of how to implement, utilize, and understand Python. Put that in a
Absolutely.
prompt,
Yes.
and then it will literally structure you out a learning a curriculum to be able to figure that
Mhm.
out, right? And so this is like, I look at AI as the ultimate problem solver.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great tool. It's a poor master. So for those of you who are going to use it, I definitely encourage you to use it. Absolutely. I use it for everything, but it's it's not always right. Just remember it. Like it's not always right. You can't just have it do everything for you. Like you have to make sure that you read through it. It's better as a tool. It's an incredible tool, but it's a poor master. So
Yeah.
I use
Trust
it
but
for things.
verify.
Trust but verify. Definitely verify any kind of facts it's telling you, because sometimes it's off. Um, and I would say use it as much as possible, because it's there's a few things it's teaching me that I'm learning as I go. Is number one is privacy. There's some issues with privacy with it. So it's teaching me, okay, well, maybe I should build my own local one, because if I have a local one on my system, I don't have to worry about that. I can put whatever I want in that one. So
Right.
I'm learning a lot of stuff, and this actually AI is why I started getting heavy into cloud. So
Got it.
what my next question for you is, um, what do you see it doing to our career path? Is there, if anything, like what do you think will be the impact of our, because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. I'm hearing all of our jobs are going to be gone. I'm hearing there's just a lot of different ideas being spun out there, and some of it is just hyperbolic one way or the other. Like you've got AI doomers saying it's doom humanity, we're done. Some people saying, it's the other side, it's going to be a utopia. Where do you see this taking us as a society and at our career path?
Well, yeah, I'll start off at society, and then we'll drill down into cybersecurity and GRC. When it comes to society, it is the people that are able to leverage AI to augment and make more efficient the things that they're already doing are going to win. And like what we're seeing now is when AI just started first creeping in and started being very but it's been in the background for a long time, but now with ChatGPT it kind of got up to the forefront and it gained basically regular user level to be able to access it. And many companies were very apprehensive about it for the same concerns that you brought up when it comes to privacy. And we got sensitive data, and then how are we putting out? I think Samsung had a big issue about they're actually like proprietary engineering documents and specifications that were being put into AI. And when people don't understand where the data is sitting and then how that data is used to train the model, and then be able to then be this big growing pool of data that gets pulled from in order to present results to somebody that does a query or does a prompt. Having an understanding of that will then put you in a mindset of like, okay, I want the capability that AI brings, but how do I implement this in a way that I'm still able to protect the sensitive information that I have? I'm able to protect my proprietary information. And then I'm also able to understand what I'm looking for out of this, and then be able to leverage this appropriately to be able to move forward in my business. Because there are, and so we're security minded, and so we want to put not necessarily the brakes, but we're like, hey, let's look at this and evaluate this and figure out how we can implement this in the right way.
Right.
Understand what it's doing, understand what we're putting in, understand what we're trying to get out of it, and then use that to meet business objectives. But there are others that are not security minded, and they're just going to throw it in there, and they're going to go fast, and they're going to get a lot of the market share in the business space because they're able to go fast. And then they'll try to pull security in on the back end when we start implementing some of these AI regulations, and we start putting a little bit more structure and requirements in terms of a compliance perspective on the industry as a whole. So I think society benefits in the short term in terms of being able to go from concept to workable product and end results quicker. But I think that us being able to put the appropriate safeguards in place in order to make sure that we have sensitive data protected, number one. Number two is we account for biases based off of how that data was trained, and even the way that we query sometimes has inherent biases. And so understanding, prompt engineering, understanding how to query the database appropriately, and then understanding, I need to make sure that there's a human in the loop when I am implementing AI, when I'm using it. And I can't just throw stuff in there, implement an AI system, and then trust the output and just push it into the market. I need to have on the output a validation mechanism to where I'm looking at what I'm expecting to see. I'm evaluating it for biases. I'm evaluating it for hallucinations. I'm evaluating it for security. And then I'm then taking that, and then I'm pushing it through our processes to be able to implement from a business perspective. And then when business gets better at delivering products and services to society, then society does get better. We just have to put the right safeguards in place. So that's my society perspective. As we zero in on cybersecurity, and I'll talk more specifically about GRC, AI, if all a person is doing in the GRC space is regurgitating verbiage from a regulation, a NIST publication, a framework, then you're not going to have a job much longer, because you can query and you can prompt AI, and if you're able to engineer a prompt well enough, you can get all that same information that you could have from somebody that is just saying you are not compliant with this control. So where I'm seeing AI kind of creep in, and really the kind of the reshaping of GRC is the integration of how do we build AI into our compliance frameworks and not even compliance platforms and existing technology. For example, like AWS, it has something like Audit Manager, where it has an element of AI into it, where it's kind of taking it's taking inputs, and then it's making decisions on whether or not you're compliant or not based off of the inputs and the feeds and the logs and the telemetry that's getting fed into it. And so that's where a GRC practitioner needs to start being able to leverage AI. Number one, how do I configure a prompt correctly in order to get the desired results? So I need to know enough about the technology in order to be able to ask AI to present a solution to me to solve a problem, to get the information that I need from it. And then how do I build compliance into the fabric of the technology, and then use that to then inform our compliance posture. So now the manual process that went into being a GRC analyst and going through and interviewing somebody and asking them what they're doing and asking for screenshots, those types of things. And this is where, the career field is kind of shifting to where you're probably going to have to be more of a GRC engineer in order to stay in the space. Because if you just want to be somebody that looks at controls and says yes or no, you're compliant, then we can have a AI do that pretty easily. So I think the transition is leveraging AI to do those things. Or so there's some window here in the short term to where we're still going to have to, create and generate, policies. When I say policies, and this is where we have to make a distinction, like you got those written policies that give you the governance of how you're going to implement your security programs. There's that type of written policy, but then there's also how do I, like, an actual Active Directory or group policy policy object. That's a policy that is actually more technical in the sense that how do I take a technical requirement from a governance perspective and then implement that in my technology to generate the results so that I can get the feedback to figure out, am I meeting the regulatory compliance requirement based off of the implementation of the technology? And so I think being able to do that as a GRC practitioner is going to be key. We can't depend on the IT person to do this, because they're going to really start to get like, wait, I have been doing GRC stuff the whole time. Like, I've been configuring, like, the GRC guy has not been configuring this group policy. I've been configuring the group policy. He just tells me what the requirement is, and then I'm the one that's translating that into, okay, this is what the group policy object needs to state. So now it becomes a challenge to where now, how are you able to, if that same IT professional is able to put a prompt in and then say, hey, give me the requirements for this regulatory compliance safeguard that I need to implement, and then tell me how to where I need to go to implement this in my technology stack. I'm running Azure or Intra ID, and I'm running this it's being hosted on AWS. When you're able to then, like, when they're able to do that, now, like, why do I need a GRC person to tell me what I'm doing? Like, the AI already has the frameworks built into it. It's a database. And you just load up the PDF document and it has the information, and you just ask it the same question you would have your GRC analyst. So now, like, the IT people are going to have to be, they're going to be the ones that are shifting into GRC. And then the people that are purely non-technical and not understanding the technology as well enough as these IT professionals,
that's a great point,
pros are, they're going, like, the IT pros are going to be getting the GRC roles, and they're going to get
that's
these.
A great point.
Right. So that's where I'm seeing AI, where I'm seeing a shift in the GRC role.
So you're saying GRC people are going to have to be more technical, and then
100%.
The technical people will have more access to the GRC world. So yeah, that's a great point, man. That's a great perspective that I haven't thought of. All right. So I've got a whole bunch of questions. I'm not ignoring you guys. We're going to cover some of these, but before we get into the questions, Will, you've got a possible offer here. Will's got an offer for his mentorships. Possibly, let me see, and he's gonna have he's gonna have 5 folks. Okay, I think we just lost Will right as we were about to do the offer. Oh man.
Hey, I'm still here.
Okay.
Let me get my video right.
Okay, no problem. So Will has an offer for vetting some folks into a mentorship program, if I'm saying this right. It's going to be up to 5 folks that'll be vetted to possibly get in. And so if you're absolutely serious about getting into GRC, this might be your opportunity to go for it. Let me see what questions we have popping up on TikTok. We've got a few folks watching. I'm not ignoring you guys. I do see your questions now. We will be getting to these. I just want to make sure that and we'll get to those questions to the offer once he gets his video back up. In the meantime, I'm going to take a few questions myself. Starting with Larry. Hey, how you doing, Larry? Larry's the one who set this up, by the way. Thanks. Shout out Larry, man. Shout out Larry. Raymond, how you doing? Let me see who else we got. Professor Black Ops, a vet in the house. My man, Professor Black Ops, one of the guys who got me into this cloud game. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Salute to the chat. Raymond says, what is your take on GRC versus data privacy roles? Now, you guys stay with us. I'm going to be taking questions for a bit, and Will's got an offer, but he's got some video issues, so I'm going to take a couple questions while we're waiting for his video to come back up. Raymond says, what is your take on GRC versus privacy roles, market trends? GRC roles versus market trends. A lot of these roles tend to be very, very closely related. But I have seen more privacy, like specifically only privacy roles crop up in the last few years. The last 5 years or so, I've been seeing more and more. There weren't that many in the beginning. There just weren't that many. So it's kind of gone from 2 to like 4, 5. You know what I mean? It hasn't gone, as opposed to GRC having gone from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands. Like they're growing together. I would say that there's been more growth that I've seen from data privacy, just because specific data privacy jobs didn't exist, a decade ago, or there were very, very, very few. And now there's a whole bunch more that I'm seeing that is a lot of just purely data privacy roles, as organizations have gotten more, have put more emphasis on privacy of people's data. Thank goodness. But I don't think it's enough, to be honest with you. They should definitely have more privacy roles, more integration of privacy into GRC itself. But as a GRC person, a lot of times I'm having to help out or do privacy impact assessments or privacy threshold analysis, or participate in some other privacy documentation or process. So it's a part of the fabric of being a GRC person. So there's kind of like not that much gap between a GRC person and a data privacy person, but there are purely privacy positions out there. All right, I think that we've got Will back. Let me see if we have your video back. Yep. Okay. Can
you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Okay, great. Okay. All right.
I had to go for the disaster recovery plan.
No problem at all. Okay, so Will, you had an offer for possibly getting into, was it a mentorship?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is, and this is something I'm doing for the Convo Courses listeners that are out there. And I just wanted to do something to where you may be an IT pro, you may be in a SOC or something like that, but you're looking to shift into GRC. Maybe you're like me when I was in the Army, and I was an IT systems administrator. And when the systems were down, guess who was up at all hours of the night trying to get it back up? Me. And so some people, especially when you're dealing with a lot of infrastructure and you might be the only person that has been hired for a job, or you're part of a team, but you can't just go on vacation like everybody else. Maybe you have to, maybe you're experiencing some burnout because you're having to put out so many fires, having to come in on weekends. You know, some patch gets released from Microsoft, and now you got to update all your servers, right? You might be getting burned out, and maybe you want to switch over into something like GRC, to where that burden of having to keep all of the systems up and connected isn't solely on your shoulders. So what I'm doing is I'm helping people transition while they're in that position to a GRC role by virtue of teaching a skill, right? And so this is where I'm offering a 5-day challenge, to where I take 5 people. I'm going to take 5 people from the ConvoCourses community, and we're going to go through a journey, and we're going to do a GRC project, get that skill set under your belt, be able to put that on your resume. And then we're going to do that in 5 days. And then that's where, when I talked about the job boards and the hiring managers looking for actual experience and things that you have done in the past, this is something that you can put immediately on your resume. So we're offering a 5-day challenge starting Monday for 5 individuals that would like to skill up, learn a GRC skill. And we're going to be talking about this challenge is going to be third-party risk management. And so
Awesome.
very, very common to be working for a company that is looking at onboarding a new SaaS provider, a new AI, and they need to evaluate how that company is doing business, and then how that business, bringing that software on, bringing that AI, integrating that into the infrastructure, how's that going to impact your business? You know, how's that going to impact your data? We're going to go through that process. How do we evaluate a vendor, and then provide a recommendation to our company as a result of that? And so we're going to have that. You can put that directly on your resume. For those of you that are interested, hit me up on LinkedIn, or you can email me, will@bettereverydaycyber.com, and then just email me GRC challenge. On LinkedIn, DM me GRC challenge. And if you're part of those first 5, then we'll be able to get you rolling next week.
Let me go ahead and put up the link here. Here is Will's link if you're interested, LinkedIn, and I've got it also on my page over here if you guys are watching me on TikTok. And if you happen to be listening, you'll go to LinkedIn and you'll type in Will Reed, all one word, 353, and you'll find him there. And then also let me put your email address up. It's will@bettereverydaycyber.com. And let me also share the page here. So first 5 people, guys, and it starts very soon. So it's time limited, and it's limited slots. So, but from this community, I mean, this is a great opportunity if you're trying to transition. You happen to already be in IT, you want to transition into GRC. This is a really good option for you to actually be under be shepherded by somebody who's been doing this for a long time and go in the right direction and actually get some experience, have a project experience on your resume. So that's actually brilliant. I mean, that's really, really great. So there you go. There's Will's contact information. Now I'm going to open this up to questions. If you guys have any questions whatsoever for us, we're going to be on here for a little bit longer. And I'll start off with TikTok. Let me see here. TikTok people. Let me see. Questions for TikTok. Somebody said GRC beginner and advice. Okay, I don't know if they're still here, but ask me a question on that one. Okay, Javier says, what AI I think they mean certification. What AI certification should we be going for? At this point, I don't know that certifications are going to get you as far as like getting experience with it. And I would just be aware that there's different aspects of GRC of AI roles that you want to be mindful of at this point. There's from everything from actually building an AI from scratch, which is which is PhD level type scientist stuff, right? To those who are securing AI, to what other types of stuff out there. And this is the reason why I started to go into cloud, because there are some highly sought after cloud certifications for AI. One is AWS has one called AI Fundamentals, I think it's called. I don't recall what the actual name is. And then Azure has one. So at this point, especially if you're starting off, I mean, I'm just telling you what I'm doing is learning the basics of AI and all the fundamentals that you need to do. Go ahead, Will. Do you have anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I don't know if there are, at least right now, the AI certifications that the market is looking for, as in like just like what you would call like the equivalent of Security Plus or
Yes,
CISSP,
yeah.
right? But it is understanding and having a knowledge of how AI works and what it's designed to accomplish, and then how to really implement it in a way that both empowers the business and enables you to protect your data at the same time. Now, that being said, I think that there will be some movement in that space because that's just how things work. When there's a new technology, when there's a new capability, there will be certifications around that. What I have started doing is actually I'm going through the University of Maryland does a free certificate course on AI career and AI and career empowerment. And it literally talks you through like all the basic foundational principles of AI, of machine learning, and then all the different applications of it, and then how to think about it, how to implement it in your organizations, how to govern it. And so I'll drop a link in the chat to it. But yeah, I think it's a free course that they offer. It's 10 modules and they have a quiz and they have videos, different instructors that are talking at it from a bunch of different perspectives. And I found it very informative, and it's recent enough to be applicable still. Like some AI courses, again, like it's moving so quick, it's hard to really keep up with all the
Yeah.
different capabilities that are coming out with AI. But I think that's a good course, a good certificate program that you go into, and it's free of charge. Like you just enroll and then get it popping. I'm gonna look for that link and then drop it in the chat.
Okay. Security expert put Perplexity gives you access to all the top AI models in the world. $200 subscription. I know that. Let me see AI. So I know OpenAI is about to. I know they have certifications. They have certifications on learning their particular brand of AI. But they're also about to open up expand their university, an academy on OpenAI, and then try to link people up with appropriate vendors. So that's something they just recently announced. Like this stuff is moving so fast. As far as open AI certifications, Amazon has one. They have two different tiers of one. Uh, Microsoft has one in Azure, two different tiers. I don't know how, like Will was saying, I don't know how sought after they are. Right there, it's not like getting an AWS SAA or an AWS specialization in security. It's not to that level yet. It's known, but Google also has a certification. But again, it's such a new this is also new that it just hasn't had that much market penetration yet. So right now, you want to think about the skills surrounding AI, which include the cloud surrounding cloud technologies. I know that knowing certain scripting languages and software programming languages lend themselves to like Python. If you know Python, that's going to help you out a little bit. So there's certain skills that you could get into, but we're all it's so freaking new that all of us are kind of diving into this. Let me see what other questions we have. I'm going to switch it up and go to questions from YouTube. And let me see what we have here. Okay, here's one. Hey, we'll read. Hey, we'll read. How's everything going? Let me see what else.
Farron, what's going on, man?
Farron.
Farron is one of my graduates from my apprenticeship program.
Yeah, Perrin's the man. Let me see. Perry's the man. Let me see who else we got. D Truth, my man. D Truth says, "Hey everyone, glad to see all the great knowledge. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining."
Hey Bruce, I dropped that course for the University of Maryland, that AI certificate course.
Okay.
In our chat, and then also like Google also has an AI, like a bunch of free AI courses. So if somebody was wanting to get started with learning AI, those are 2 free resources that they can access.
Okay, I'll post that up here. Somebody said, "Hi Bruce, will this be available for replay afterwards?" Yes, I'm gonna keep this one up. Sometimes I'll do these lives and then I'll get rid of them. Let me see, but this one will stay up. Great conversation. And then I've got a question from Larry. Larry, thanks for setting this up, man. I appreciate you. He says, can you give your opinion on picking a lane and mastering it versus jumping from trend to trend? For example, if I want to get into IT security, how important is it to master the basics of that domain versus getting into AI or other new trends? I'll let you take a crack at that one, Will.
Yeah, great question, Larry. And so there's definitely a balance. And so on one side of it is you want to try to hone in on exactly what your role is within the organization that you're supporting, if you're already in that role, and then kind of hunker down in that, and then figure out what I would recommend somebody doing is, if I'm in a role that I want to stay in, but I also want to, learn AI, like how does AI impact my role? What are ways we can use AI in this, in my functions, my responsibilities to make things more efficient? And so there's a balance. I would say also just from a practical perspective, because I'm really curious, and I also like, what crazy thing is 2 years ago, I'm telling my age, like 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 40, which was crazy, but explained a whole lot, because I can get to the point where I'm interested in a whole lot of things. And when you come into the cybersecurity space or the IT space, and you're not able to focus on one thing, it's a blessing and a curse. Like the job that I had in the military, I had to dabble in a lot of different things. And so we call that a jack of all trades, master of none. Some people have the luxury of being able to focus on a role, and they have some very specific functions and parameters around which they implement their job and their functions. There are other people that, you're the one guy that has to know everything, right? You might be the one-stop shop, the solo IT person in the team or in the organization. And so your ability to be able to do that is you have to put some balance to it. So this is where I would time block. So a very practical tool is like, hey, if I'm interested in 5 different things, right? So say I'm an IT system administrator, but I know I need to learn cloud. I know I need to learn some coding. I know I need to learn a little bit about AI. And then I know I need to learn a little bit about maybe I've been specializing in Windows and I need to learn a little bit more about Linux. And then maybe there's one more thing I need to learn about software development. I would just take I would take either one concept and then block out 2 or 3 hours and then have a specific day where you just drill into one of those and then do one of those every week for a month, and then just kind of cycle through that. And then in 3 months, you're probably at a good spot to where enough to be able to figure out how some of those apply or could apply to your role. But I definitely time boxes things. Some people can do that on a daily basis, right? Like, hey, maybe I have 5 30-minute blocks out of a day after my 9 to 5 job to where I can just kind of carve out some time and start focusing on those things. But definitely putting it on the calendar. And if it's something that's important to you, put a time block and that's dedicated to that, and do it, right? But what I would caution against is being overly curious, especially for things that don't directly apply to your job, if that's a role that you plan on staying in for a little bit of time, and you're just trying to skill up and trying to broaden your horizons a little bit, right? So don't overwhelm yourself with too many things, but at the same time, have a system. If you know you need to learn all of those things, just kind of approach it, or just pick one thing for 1 month and pick those, 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day, learn that for a month, and then pick something else the next month. And then in 6 months, you're going to be a completely different person.
Larry, this is a great question. This is something that I went through the last 5-6 years on my business, actually, and huge lesson for me. So what I used to do was I had this concept of like an octopus style income. Like I was doing so many different things and trying to bring all these revenue streams in, multiple streams of income, right? What I learned was that it was better for me to focus on one thing. Now there's a trick. There's a way you can have multiple things if there's crossroads, and which I'll talk about. So what I've learned is you got to focus on one thing at a time, and actually it's way more effective. So by me focusing on one thing, I'm going to give you a specific example. So not only am I writing books, I also have Airbnb. I had 2 or 3 other businesses, right? There's no way I could keep up with all that stuff. I have a whole nother channel that has more viewers than this one, that has more subscribers than this one. I had to quit it because I don't have enough time in the day to do all this stuff. So I focused on what I did was I just wrote everything down. Like Will said, I wrote everything down. And I said, okay, what are the things that I'm doing? What am I doing? And then out of all that list, I said, what has the most impact on my life? What has the most impact in the next year on my life and my family's life? And it came down to this channel right here. What I'm doing right here, which promotes my books. My books do better than anything else I do. So right there, it was clear in the data. The data told me which way to go. And so I start focusing on one thing, which is this channel right here. You got to focus on one thing at a time. Now, that said, what you can do is if you want to learn AI, you can use AI to focus on, say, Security Plus. Like I'm telling you, focus on Security Plus, get it done, right? You said on this channel, you made a deal with all of us that you are going to get this done by the end of the year. I'm going to hold you to it. So that said, get it done. What you can do is use AI to help you. Now, while you're using AI, you're going to be learning it. So that's one thing you can do. Don't get shiny object syndrome where you're doing too many things at once. What you could do is like have a milestone. Say, okay, once my milestone is Security Plus done. Once I get that certification, okay, now I'll move on to AI or whatever, and then have another milestone, maybe put it a year out or something like that. The concepts came from, just life in general. Like I just failed at all these other things, not failed, but they just didn't hit where I wanted them to hit. And by me focusing on one thing and mastering this one thing, it actually opened up other things for me. It's crazy, but if you focus on one thing, you master that thing, hit a milestone, then you can move on to something else. And then other doors open up. So that would be my advice to you. It's, focus on one thing, get it done. And that Security Plus for you, man, is important. It's going to open up some doors. It's an effective certification. I don't know what other influencers are saying out there about it, but it's one of the most impactful. When I was starting off, it was one of the most impactful certifications that I did. And so you should definitely focus on that. All right, let me see if I got any other questions here. Okay, Mr. Professor Black Ops says, I do a ton of privacy assessments, and has a part of risk. It's a part of risk assessments in, yeah, GRC. Yeah, absolutely. So in my information system security officer role, same thing, Professor Black Ops. I was doing a lot of privacy type stuff. So there's a lot of integration in GRC to try to even separate them apart. It's kind of crazy, because as a GRC person, you're going to be exposed to privacy stuff a lot. You're going to have to do privacy impact assessment. You're going to have to be brought in on meetings involving privacy and maybe do some privacy controls or stuff like that. Let me see if there's any other TikTok questions here. And again, if you guys are joining me late, this is an opportunity to enroll in a program to get into GRC with Mr. Will Reed. Will Reed is offering the first 5 individuals, and you got to do it fast. This is time limited, and the slots are limited, to get in with somebody who knows exactly where to how to show you where to go to get into GRC. Great opportunity for you. Okay, Matthew TV says, if you master guitar, you can be an average piano player due to understanding theory and oh, right. I get what you're going with that. You master the guitar. So there are people who can do everything, right? Prince could play 10 different instruments, right? Not everybody. How rare is that? That's super rare. That's a rare thing. I've met IT professionals who can do 10 different, right? Like I've met people I'm not one of those people. I'm just not one of those people.
Yeah.
But if you can master one, it's going to teach you a lot. The security is one of those things. If you know best security practices, it's going to help you with networking. It's going to help you with a little bit of cloud. It's going to help you with, you're going to actually start thinking, okay, well, what about privacy with AI? Well, if somebody is using AI, well, you can't put sensitive information in there, right? Where does that information go? You start making all these connections. If you master one thing, networking is the same way. Once you start knowing networking really, really well, like there's a certain threshold, you'll be exposed to security. You'll be exposed to a little bit of cloud stuff, servers, workstations. You'll have all this other exposure. All right, let me see if there's another question here. Great point about the musician thing. That's a great point. Okay, I've got another one from Matthew TV. It says students are finding new ways to complete assignments, plagiarism, but learning how to integrate AI. That's not my world right there. I haven't been a student in a long time.
I got 5 kids. I definitely understand. Yeah. So.
Oh, go ahead, Will.
I think that those that will benefit the most from it are the ones that use AI and are able to communicate appropriately with AI in order to help them solve challenges, right? And so the challenge too is not depending so heavily on AI to where you stop thinking. So this is where those individuals, they're going to be like, so you got 2 different frames of approaches to a job, right? So there's the actual work of the job where it's just is you and the work. And then there is the human interaction where you're in a meeting and they're asking your thoughts on what you should do. If you're somebody that depends too heavily on AI to do the thinking for you, then you're not going to be in a position to be able to provide valuable feedback and input in conversations. And so this is where it's important to have a good foundation in the principles of what it is that you're doing, and then understanding how to do your job and using AI as an enhancer to what you're doing, as opposed to something that is I start with AI, and then I learn from there, right? It's if this is your role, if this is your responsibility to know this stuff, right? Like you start with that foundational knowledge and then you use AI as an enhancer. And so where these students will end up getting in having a challenge is, yeah, you got the assignment done, but the test is sitting there, is in the classroom with a pencil and paper, and you filling out and answering those questions, right? Like, and AI isn't part of it. And so if you have turned that part of your brain off, and this is a real, for those of us that remember MapQuest and the Atlas roadmap, like you've been driving long enough to where it was before MapQuest, to where you literally would have to get a Atlas roadmap out and then take a highlighter and highlight all of your different, and then you have to pull out the city map and then highlight all the different turns that you would have to make to get from your place in Hinesville, Georgia, all the way to Cleveland, Ohio, right? So you got to get on I-20 and then you hit I-85 and then you go, like, you'd have to memorize that stuff and then learn your turns. But then MapQuest came out, then you print out the directions, and now you're just like, all right, cool, what do I do next? And then GPS comes out to where it's just telling you. And then I've been like, I'm not going to tell on this individual, but I've known somebody that has lived in the same town and gone the same route 50 different times, and still without AI, without the GPS, they weren't able to go from this place to the next city over without having to turn on their GPS, because like it tricks us into now we're just responding to turn here, left here, right here, up, and then now you're here, and like, but you don't recognize the route. You don't understand where you just went. Like you can't like reverse engineer that and get back where you're going without having to turn the GPS back on and then going back. And so if you've done that multiple times, you should have the ability to then turn that GPS off. And now I know this. And so this is where, you know, again, the GRC practitioners or cybersecurity practitioners, like wherever you're trying to apply AI in your life, like if you learn the basic of what it is that it's trying to do and then use AI to enhance it. Now, if it's like I'm going to somewhere unfamiliar in the town, now I need to turn on my GPS. Oh yeah, I know this main, you know, exit, right? And now it's just a second right off of this exit. Okay, yeah, I got it next time. So I think that if we get to that point where we're using AI as a tool, not a crutch, then we're going to be in a good place to be able to leverage it appropriately and not be people that like our brain doesn't work anymore.
AI is a great tool, support master. Like, have you ever use GPS, a great example, and it's giving you 4 lefts or something, and you're like, this is wrong, right? And you're like, wait, hold up, this is the wrong, there's a shortcut over here. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Like a few times, like I use it as a writing tool, but it doesn't know everything. So a good example is I was using it to help me to write risk management framework, and it had the wrong information. I'm like, all right, it had the wrong information. Like, as a professional, if you know a certain level of knowledge, you'll be reading through it. You'll be like, wait, this is wrong. And then I realized why it was wrong, because it was pulling old information from risk from NIST 800, the old NIST 800. It was pulling from 837 version 1, and it's supposed to be pulling from version 2. And it does the same thing with ISO 27001, which is on the new version. It does the same thing. So it doesn't know everything. And sometimes it'll hallucinate. It'll say stuff nonsense. It'll make up facts. So you can't turn off your critical thinking, right? You can use it as a tool, but you don't want to turn off your critical thinking. You want to reread everything it says, because it'll go way off track sometimes.
That's so important, Bruce. Like I had this experience on the last job that I had. Like I saw like something that got produced by somebody. It was a guide to compliance, and we were supposed to be doing this 800-171, but then all of the control references were 853 references. And I'm like, okay, yes, this 800-171 did derive from 853. Right. However, there are requirements that are in 853 that do not apply for 800-171 compliance. And if we're asking somebody to do this and say, hey, in order for you to meet 800-171 compliance, you have to do this, then that might not be exactly correlated. Like it probably, like you need to at least do the mapping to where like, yeah, it's this control, but the 800-171 control ID was never even mentioned. I'm like, well, you at least got to do the mapping from 853 to the applicable NIST 800-171 control. And so if you don't know the framework, you don't know what output you should be getting, you're just going to trust what AI spits out. And then that's going to put you in a bad predicament when somebody was like, okay, well, you told me to do this. And that now the company has spent money to implement a control that, although it might have been a good security best practice, it was outside of the scope of the project that you were designing to meet a certain compliance requirement. And now you spent an extra $60,000. They're like, hey, well, like, what are we doing? We just did this, but it actually wasn't a requirement. They didn't even ask this on the assessment. Like, it didn't even a question.
Like, it's dangerous to just copy paste that stuff.
Yeah,
it's really. I'm seeing organizations doing it. I'm seeing politicians doing it. I'm seeing lawyers do it, and they're getting caught. It's really dangerous to do that. And people who are in the know, smart people who are like reading the actual like data, they're like, yo, this is wrong. I didn't even see how you did it wrong. And then they're pointing it back to them. So
those hallucinations, that lawyer, there was a lawyer that presented in front of it was in the actual case, and they're like, oh yeah, and they quoted a case number or a case that didn't exist, and the judge was like, wait a minute, that case never happened. What are you talking about? And they had just pulled it from ChatGPT, and ChatGPT hallucinated, and it will connect dots, it will draw conclusions, and it will hallucinate in order to give you what it thinks you want.
Exactly.
But again, it's input validation, output validation. What am I putting in? And then am I getting what I'm expected out? And do I know enough about my subject matter to tell if it's telling me something that's wrong?
It's a great tool. It's a poor master. Okay, I've got somebody on TikTok asking, they're saying they're from Australia and they're wondering if they would be eligible for your program. They signed up.
As long as we can align times, because really the only live commitment when we're talking about that 5-day tiny challenge is like we identify between me and you a 30 to 45 minute block where both of us are available. So if you're asking me to be up in this 3:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's probably not going to work for me. But again, it doesn't automatically exclude you. It just means we just got to work around it.
Okay, let me see. I got one from Larry. Thank you, Larry, for that $20, man. I appreciate you. It says Bruce has spoken previously about cloud tech being the foundation of practical AI application. What is your opinion on this, and how have you approached cloud education to make you not only a better GRC but also better at AI? I could definitely talk to this one, but you want to go to this one?
Yeah, I'll go brief, and
okay.
I'll let you go a little bit deeper because you're neck deep in this now. And so yes, I agree with Bruce in that understanding cloud and AI is crucially important, and especially since many organizations are migrating to the cloud, and with the advent of AI, there are many entrepreneurs now that are like, hey, you can spin up a website and software as a service so quick it'll make your head spin, right? But all this infrastructure is sitting in the cloud. Now you're marrying AI and cloud, and in order to be effective, especially as a GRC practitioner, you're going to need to learn and understand both technologies, or understand cloud technologies, and then how AI helps either facilitate, support, augment, or secure the cloud environment, right? And so there are a lot of built-in things. And so what I encourage people to do is identify which cloud technology is appropriate for you in your organization, or what's primary in your industry, right? And so you got like either you're going to go, Azure, or you're going to do AWS predominantly. IBM is and Oracle are trying to kind of creep in, but really based off of the organization that you're in, learn that cloud technology, right? So if it's AWS, learn what the security parameters are, how AI augments that, how AI automates some compliance tasks, how those connective tissues happen between AWS and the AI, and understanding APIs, for example. That's what's going to be super super important, is understanding how APIs, those are basically the windows by which you're bringing in all these other different data points and technologies and external resources into
APIs,
into your software, into your platform. It's opening those doors, and then okay, how am I securing that door, both coming in and then going out, right? And then where am I storing those keys? Those like all of that has to be taken into account. So yes, understanding, picking the cloud technology that is closest to what your business is doing, and then figuring out how AI then interacts with that cloud technology, and then how can I implement GRC into our production, leveraging AI in the cloud.
And this is your point here, Larry. Like, the reason I decided to get very serious about cloud is because of AI, because I wanted to get into AI. I was so obsessed with it. And then I started diving into it, learning the basics of it. And then it hit me. And then I'm looking for jobs. I'm like looking for jobs for AI type jobs. And I'm noticing there's not, unless there's a lot of jobs, but there's a certain skill set that in background they're looking for that I didn't have. What I do have is a lot of cybersecurity. So I was thinking to myself, like, how can I get in? I want to use what I already have to get in at the level I'm at. How can I do that? Cloud, because AI, a lot of it to scale is built on cloud. If you look at Bedrock, it's, in order for them to allow hundreds of thousands of users all over the world to use Sage or Bedrock, or those are AI platforms from Amazon, they have to put it in the cloud. Another one is, I don't know, OpenAI. In order for them to allow everyone to use it, it has to be built in a cloud infrastructure. So I was just thinking, like, that's where it is. And plus, every time I go for another job, they keep asking me, cloud this, cloud, do you know this? Do you know that? And so I'm like, okay, all right, it's time. And then I started learning it. So at some point, I'm going to dive back in. I'm focusing on one thing at a time, focusing on cloud. And then once I get to a certain level, I'll pivot and start bringing in some of that cloud stuff. Like I'm using as much cloud as possible, but at some point I'm going to pivot and use way more, right? Like, that's my plan. It might change. I mean, look, the space is moving so fast. Something else might come up. I mean, hell, quantum computers might, in the next 10 years, might be like the next thing that I'm like, okay, it's time for me to go into that. I don't know, right? Like, at this point, I'm focused on one thing, which is cloud. And I'm going to get to a certain level and then bring in more deeper knowledge base of cloud stuff. I mean, AI stuff. Let me see if there's more questions here. I'm only going to take a few more questions. And just to go back to our original topic, Better Everyday Cyber, run by Will Reed, is taking 5 people from this chat right now. So if you guys are interested in this, I'm going to put his contact information up right now. It's time limited. There's 5 slots. But if you are somebody who's in IT and you are interested in getting into GRC, this is a great opportunity for somebody who's going to shepherd you, somebody who knows this, who does this on a regular basis, is going to walk you through what you need to do, the mindset you need to have to get into this. So there is one of the contacts right there. Let me post his. Okay, there we go. LinkedIn. This is how you contact Will Reed right here. This is a great, I wish that I would have had an opportunity like this, somebody to mentor me and show me the way, point the way, and take you on that path. This is your opportunity right now. So somebody asked if they could do it from Australia. It depends on your time zone. Are you willing to wake up when Will Reed is awake? That's okay. There's his email address. And Will, before we close this out, is there anything you want to close with?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to come back on your podcast and speak to your audience. Bruce. Definitely, I count it an honor and a
Anytime.
privilege
Anytime.
to be here once again. And what I'll say is that have the mindset of a learner, and you will always do well, right? And so things are changing technology wise. AI is starting to shift the market in every sense of the word, right? So the market being the job market, and businesses are leveraging AI, and now it's coming to the point where we're going to have to shift with it, or we're going to get left behind. You're not going to necessarily lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody that knows how to do AI, use AI
Amen.
to do your job more efficiently, right? And so now it's like, how do we tune AI, and how do we create automation around some of these manual tasks that people have been doing for decades, and trim costs. This is where businesses are really about making money, and the biggest cost for most businesses is the overhead for the people that they employ, paying them a salary to do a job. And so if they can find an AI, an agent, to do certain tasks, they're going to do it. And so this is where our skills in our communication, number one, and then
Yes.
our skills and how we can critically think, and then our ability to problem solve are going to be the key aspects of us being successful as we transition into this AI era, right? And so the people that are able to communicate, that means prompt engineering, and communicating with the AI to tell the AI what it needs to do, and then being able to be able to critically think. And so, like, hey, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish, and how can I do this more efficiently? How can I then leverage AI to do that? And then problem solving. All right, cool. Now there's a challenge where either something that I can't do well, or I don't know how to do right now. How can I identify the right thing that I need to do to solve this problem? If AI is the capability that's going to enhance my ability to solve this problem, how am I leveraging it? How am I communicating with it appropriately in order to do that? But most importantly, the business has problems, and my ability to be able to not bring a problem to the business without a solution is going to be key to success. They don't want people to see GRC a lot of times as somebody that brings a problem. You're not compliant, but then we don't bring solutions. So be the person that brings solutions. So that comes with being able to communicate effectively, critically think, and then be a problem solver.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate you. I got one last question that we'll answer. D Truth says, and thank you guys for all your questions. I appreciate you guys every week. And just so you guys know, there's another conversation that happens outside of this. I know I only do this weekly, but if you join us at ConvoCourses.com, we have a community there. We're always talking back and forth throughout the week. So if you're interested in that, please join. And that's where you'll get the first people who see these offers, like what Will just did. They're the ones who see it. So just so you know, and for all you guys that are content creators, you have books, courses, whatever, talk to me. I'm willing to promote your stuff. Like, this is about us learning together. Hell, half the time you guys tell me stuff and I'm learning stuff. Professor Black Ops came on here. I was learning stuff from Professor Black. I became a huge fan of his. I'm now his super fan. So this is a community where we're building together. So D-True says, what are some of the AI apps outside of ChatGPT that you would recommend for those learning to use all the AI that you can?
Great question. So there are a couple that I use. I use Perplexity to
Perplexity is
to
the
to get
shit.
general information, right? Because Perplexity combs the internet, and it pulls different, so and it'll actually pull in um, different links to websites that it's going to give you the information, and then it's going to give you a link to the website where it sourced that information from. So I think Perplexity is very good. Another one that I use, it is embedded within Gemini. So it's Notebook LM. So it's from Google, and Notebook LM is something that I use to like generate quizzes and lessons and study guides. And so if you give it, for example, you put a PDF and like, hey, here's NIST 853, for example, like, hey, create me a a study guide and explaining the controls that are in the access control family. Like it'll create that. And here's another thing that Notebook LM can do. It can create a course.
Audio.
It can create audio, right?
Yep.
It can create like you can create a podcast out of Notebook LM. It's crazy, right? And so those are two that I use. And then Copilot, because I have with I'm M365 that hosts my Outlook, right? So my email is through, but Copilot is built in, and so I use Copilot as well. Like I find Copilot is pretty good at image generation. If you want to generate a basic image, general queries, generative AI. So I use those three in addition to, and I have the paid version of ChatGPT, which gives me the ability to create GPTs on my own. And so those are the ones that some of the ones that I use.
Yeah, I use all of those that you mentioned. Another one that I've messed around with is Claude. Claude is pretty good. I started. It's a little expensive, like for the amount of data I do. So it starts charging extra for, but I like it a lot. Its writing feature is crazy. Another thing I start doing is local LMs. I've just started kind of getting into it. I want to get into it a lot more, but there's one you can put on your phone. If your phone is powerful enough, you can do this one called, let me just see if I can show you guys. It's called, there's one called LM Studio that you can load on your local PC to mess around with, to download things like a safe version, if there is such a thing, of DeepSeek and some of the Chinese models, because it's not connected to the internet. But there's one you can do on your phone as well. And here's a whole bunch of LMs I've downloaded to this phone. Now, you have to have a pretty powerful phone. This one is a Samsung 25, Samsung Galaxy 25. Yeah, that one can do it. But that's a few other things that you can do to learn AI. I mean, that's what I've been doing, like in the back end, to help me with my focus on what I'm trying to do these days with cloud. But that's it. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Thank you so much. Thanks, Larry, for setting this up. Thanks, Will Reed, for coming in and making these awesome offers. If you have anything else, man, hit me up. I'm telling you, I will promote the hell out of your stuff. Like you two, Professor Black Ops, everybody else, if you have some content, I'm all about promoting this community here. So that's it, guys, for this week. Thanks again, Will Reed. Thanks, everybody, for your questions. I will talk to you guys on the chat.
All right. Peace. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you.